Okay, everybody. So today we will talk about the immune system of the body and the diseases related to the immunity. So first we'll talk about the system called the lymphatic system, which is responsible for immunity. Okay, so lymphatic system is mainly responsible for immunity. First, what is immunity? Immunity is the ability to fight against microorganisms or antigens that try to invade into your body. So I'm repeating again, immunity is the ability of your body to fight against antigens, often microorganisms like bacteria, virus, or other types of antigens that try to invade into your body. Now, the immunity could be two types. One is called specific immunity, another is called non-specific immunity. Okay? So first, we divide the immunity into two types: non-specific and specific. Okay? Immunity. What is the difference between non-specific and specific immunity? Non-specific immunity tries to block or stop everything in general. For example, your skin, right? Your skin covers the whole body, you know that, right? So if anything tries to invade into your body, skin will stop it, try to stop it, right? In general, it will try to stop everything, right? It will not do like this. I will only stop this bacteria, not that bacteria. It will not do that, right? It is just a barrier. So it will try to stop in general. So that is non-specific. Make sense? Not selective. So non-specific immunity is also called innate immunity. Okay? We get this by birth. Everybody has it. Everybody has a skin, right? And we get by birth. Example, skin. Mucous membrane. You know, inside your respiratory tract, you have the inner lining, right? Inside the trachea, inside the pharynx, you have lining. Inside your gastrointestinal tract, starting from the mouth, esophagus, intestine, you have inner layer. Make sense? And that is called the mucous membrane. So that will also try to stop the antigen. Because you know, we breathe, right? 24 hours, and a lot of microorganisms, dust, right? Particles are entering into your trachea, into your pharynx, right? Nose. So that lining, inner lining of your respiratory tract is stopping them. Make sense? Same thing when we eat food, right? Microorganisms enter into the digestive system and that inner layer of your intestine or esophagus or mouth is stopping them, the antigens, from entering into the body. So that is another example, and that is non-specific too, right? So that is mucous membrane. Now, if somehow a microorganism passes through the skin and enters into your tissue under the skin, somehow it manages to enter into the body through the skin, who will try to destroy that? In your tissue, you have some cells. In your tissue, you have some cells. Those are called phagocytic cells. Have you ever heard that? Phagocytosis, engulf. Those cells can engulf the antigens, bacteria or virus. They can engulf. Okay. So, if somehow the microorganism penetrates through the skin and or mucous membrane, it enters into the tissue underneath, right? So in the tissue, you have what? Phagocytic cells. Example, macrophages. Okay. Dendritic cells. So, those are the cells present in your tissue, and they can do what? Engulf the antigens and destroy them. So, these all are non-specific. Try to destroy or stop any type of antigens. Now, specific is also called adaptive or acquired immunity. Okay, so adaptive or acquired immunity, which is highly specific. Which is highly specific. That means adaptive immunity, when you get a particular type of, for example, virus, swine flu virus, okay? If you get that one, then your body will produce immunity against that specific antigen. Make sense? It will produce immunity against against that specific type of virus, okay? Like against swine flu virus, okay? So that is highly specific and acts against specific type of virus and is produced in response to that specific virus. So that is adaptive or acquired. Now, innate immunity gives first and second lines of defense. In your body, you have 3 lines or layers of defense. You know, in the battlefield, if you see the movie, right? In the battlefield, in old time, they used to put the soldiers in different layers, right? So, if first line is destroyed, then second line will come forward, right? So, in your body, you have 3 lines of defenses. First is what? You all know. I said you, skin, right? And mucous membrane. That is the outer layer, right? That will try to stop the microorganisms. So, these skin and mucous membrane give first line of defense. Okay? Then second line of defense is given by the cells present in the tissue. Second line of defense. Okay. Now, if they fail, this is the third line of defense. Okay, third line of defense. So you see, in the immune system of your body, you have three lines of defense. Now, you see here, non-specific and specific. Before we go further, just know that this adaptive or acquired immunity is again divided into two types. So this one is again divided into two types. Okay. One is called cellular and another is called humoral. Okay, cellular immunity and humoral immunity. Cellular immunity is given by the lymphocytes cell. You know, lymphocytes are one type of white blood cells. Okay, one type of white blood cells are lymphocytes. Others are neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, and monocyte. Okay, and this is another lymphocyte. So the lymphocytes give cellular immunity. Which lymphocytes? There are two types of lymphocytes. That is called T lymphocytes. Okay, T-type lymphocytes give cellular immunity. Humoral immunity, the word humoral means fluid. Cellular means cell, right? Humoral means what? Fluid. And humoral immunity is given by antibodies. Okay, antibodies.
Are those your red blood cells?
Antibodies are proteins. Those are not cells. That's why.
So it's still a separate thing.
Yeah, that's protein molecules. Okay, called immunoglobulin. One type of globulin is a protein that gives immunity. That's why it is called immunoglobulin. It is not a cell. It is protein. Okay. So, lymphocytes and antibodies. In last, so remember that these are two main warriors that fight against the antigens. Two main warriors are what? Lymphocytes and antibodies. Two main components that destroy the antigens in your body. Okay? So just to know that so you see here more detail, the innate immunity that we get by birth. This one includes, as I have mentioned, barriers, skin, mucous membrane, phagocytic cells, macrophages, dendritic cells that I have mentioned here, right? And also some chemicals, interferon. There are different types of interferon, the chemicals, that also provides innate immunity. This is present in everybody's body, okay? And it is not specific. It will try to destroy any kind of antigens. Other two things, fever and inflammation, also helps you to fight against antigens. How? You know, you may think that when inflammation occurs, right, it is not good. But actually, inflammation is the sign that in that area where you see inflammation, active, immunity is taking place. That means the immunity, the defensive cells are working there to destroy the antigens. That's why you see inflammation. So inflammation, basically, just know that we'll talk more about this. Inflammation, at the site of inflammation, the cells that destroy the microorganisms are more active. Okay? And inflammation is good for us. Okay? Good for us. At the site of inflammation, more active immunity is there. Fever also helps in our immune system, boosts up the immune system to fight against the microorganisms. Now, you see here, I have mentioned that humoral immunity given by the antibodies, specific protein, and cell-mediated immunity given by the lymphocytes, right? You see here, cell-mediated or cellular given by lymphocytes, and humoral given by the antibodies. Now we'll talk about inflammation. As I have mentioned, that inflammation is helpful. First, why we get inflammation? When an injury occurs in your body, you see inflammation there, right? If something bites you or scratches you, you see inflammation, right? So that is due to mechanical cause, like scratching or biting or hitting by something. That is mechanical, by pressure. Also, chemicals. Certain chemicals can cause inflammation, right? Acid or poison ivy, you know that, right? That can cause inflammation. UV radiation. If you, take off your shirt and sit under the sun for a long time, you see, right? Redness in the skin. So that is inflammation due to radiation, right? Coming from the sun. Microorganisms. If infection occurs in the eye or, pharyngitis, laryngitis, when it happens, right? Rhinitis, you see inflammation, right? So microorganisms, that is a very common cause of inflammation, right? Microorganisms also cause inflammation. So, you see, microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, they can cause inflammation. So, inflammation can occur by many ways, different ways. Physical trauma that I have mentioned, like scratching or biting, can cause that, right? Allergens. Certain chemicals can cause inflammation, and those chemicals are called allergens, causes allergic reaction, and that is inflammation. Okay. You see here the things I have already mentioned. Phagocytosis, those cells can engulf the antigens. Fever stimulates the phagocytes, those cells. Fever stimulates or enhances the immune function. Interferon also does that, and inflammation. Now, what kind of changes you see at the site of inflammation? You all know the signs of inflammation. When you see inflammation, what are the things you see there? What kind of changes you see there if you get inflammation here?
I see bumps.
Bumps, very good. Redness, swelling, right? Said bump. What else? Warm, yes. Slightly warm. Make sense?
Might be sensitive.
might be sensitive, pain, or right, itchy. That can happen, right? Itchiness or pain. So those are the signs of inflammation. Now, why that happens? Why you see those changes? The mechanism is this is the tissue, consists of cells. So this is tissue, okay? And we all know that we have capillaries. These are the capillaries in the tissue, okay? And we also have nerve endings, okay? So when injury occurs, it can happen by any of those factors, okay? When injury occurs in the cells, like these cells got injured, these cells, injured cells, release histamine, okay? And that histamine, also few other chemicals are released there. Another is called bradykinin. Bradykinin, serotonin, prostaglandin. Okay, so those are some chemicals released from the injured cells. Okay, make sense? And histamine, particularly this one, causes what? Acts on the capillaries, blood vessels, and cause vasodilation. Okay? Vasodilation. That means what? The blood vessels in that area dilate, right? Get wider. So now you tell me, if that happens, more or less blood will flow more in that area? More, right? Because blood vessels got dilated. So more blood will flow in that area, right? So if more blood flows in this area will look what? Redness. Red, because color of blood is red, right? So if more blood circulates there, it will give redness. Now you tell me, if you know, blood is warmer or colder than your body? Blood is warm or cold? Warmer. Warmer. Slightly warmer than body, okay? Blood is slightly warmer. So if more blood flows in this area, that area will, if you touch it, you will feel what? Warm, right? Slightly warm, because more blood is going there, and blood is slightly warmer than the body. Make sense? So that's why you get that area is hot or warm. Okay. Now, when blood vessels dilate, look at this. This is the wall of the blood vessel, okay? This is the wall of the blood vessel. When blood vessel dilates, in the wall of the capillaries, you have very tiny pores, okay, in the wall of the capillary. That's why change occurs through the wall of the capillary, right? Certain chemicals should get out, nutrients should get out, so you have tiny holes. When blood vessels dilate, those holes get bigger. Make sense? So fluid leaks out. So the liquid part of blood will get out, and that will cause edema or swelling, okay, or edema. Fluid accumulates in that area. Make sense? Now, other chemicals, particularly this one, stimulates the nerves, and that causes pain sensation, okay? The nerve endings are stimulated, and you have the pain receptors there at the end of the nerve. So you get pain. So see that how inflammation causes those changes in the tissue. Now I said that inflammation is good, right? Why inflammation is good? You see here, if this infection or inflammation is due to microorganisms, these are the microorganisms, okay, here in this site. So what will happen when the blood vessels will dilate, some lymphocytes and other white blood cells will get out, okay, easily, and those white blood cells will destroy these microorganisms. Okay, we know that white blood cells destroy the microorganisms. Okay, so they can easily get out, okay, and destroy those microorganisms. So that's why inflammation helps fighting against the antigens. Make sense? Mobilization of those white blood cells increases at the site of inflammation. Make sense? More activity is there. Here you see now that histamine particularly, that will dilate the capillaries and blood vessels, increase the permeability. So neutrophils, one type of white blood cells, okay, movement will increase. Leukocytosis. Now, leukocyte means what? Anybody? Have you heard that? Leukocyte? Leukocyte means white blood cells. Erythrocytes means red blood cells. Okay? Leukocytes means white blood cells. Leuko means white. Erythro means red. Okay? Another name of white blood cells. So that's what I have mentioned, that leukocytosis, that means the production of leukocyte or white blood cell will increase, as well as the movement of the white blood cell will increase. Okay? So that will help to destroy the microorganisms. Okay? Just know the things I have mentioned here. Same thing they have shown here, so just you can read and you will understand. Okay, now immunization or vaccination. You know that many people, nowadays everybody, when I was small, we didn't have to take all the vaccines, okay? Now everybody must get the vaccine. So now the question is, how vaccine works and what is a vaccine? You know, when an antigen enters into your body responds to that, right? We all know that, by producing immunity, antibodies. So what we do in the lab, antigens, if I inject antigens into your body, that could be dangerous, right? That could be, if I inject, harmful bacteria into your body, that can spread inside the body, right? And cause disease. What we do, we inactivate the antigens heavily. We say highly attenuated, suppress the antigens, okay, in the lab. Like, if you want to fight with me, if your hands and legs are open, you are dangerous, right? You can kick me, punch me. But if I tie your hands and legs, then you cannot cause harm. But you are still alive, right? You are still alive. So what we do, basically, we block the harmful sites of the antigens, okay, to make them highly inactive, but still they are alive. Remember, they have the ability to produce antibody in your body. So what we do, we inactivate them highly and then inject into the body. Okay, so they won't do harm to your body, but they are strong enough to trigger the production of antibody in your body. Make sense? So in response to them, your body will be able to produce antibody, but it will not harm you. That is vaccine. Okay, so we inject the vaccine into the body because we know that our immune system has memory. Immune system has what? Memory. So if I inject that antigen, particular antigen, then your immune system will produce antibody against it, some lymphocytes against it, but they will not act immediately, but they will store that information for future invasion. If the real microorganism or antigen tries to enter into your body, then what will happen? Your body already knows how to fight. So your body will quickly respond and destroy, okay, before it spreads inside your body. So that is vaccine. Now the problem of vaccine is, you all know probably, that the microorganisms can change their strain. Have you heard that? So that's why we see new virus, right, appears, new name, new virus appears. And it is difficult because once the virus changes the strain, right, then that vaccine may not work that you have already taken for specific virus. So that is a big challenge. And when new strain appears, it infects so many people, right? And we are not ready to supply vaccine, produce and supply, right? So that's a big challenge worldwide, to fight against new strain of microorganisms. Okay, now another thing you need to know is, so I said that lymphocytes and antibodies, these are the two main components of immunity, okay? Lymphocytes and antibodies. Lymphocytes, let's first talk about the lymphocytes. Two types of lymphocytes, T lymphocytes or T cells, B lymphocytes or B cells. Okay? T lymphocytes, there are different types. Cytotoxic T cells, suppressor T cells, which is also called regulatory T cells, then helper T cells, and memory T cells. Okay? So these are different types of T cells and they work differently. But all of them are responsible for immunity. They work differently, but all of them fight against the microorganisms. You remember a few minutes ago I said memory, immune system has memory, right? So these memory T cells will keep that record information, okay, in your body. and when invasion will occur, it will quickly, produce many cells and antibodies. B cells also have memory B cells. Helper B cells, and another type of B cells that actually comes from B cells, those are called plasma cells. Plasma cells. You need to know plasma cells because once B cells are converted to plasma cells, these plasma cells can produce huge amount of antibodies. So you see, antibodies mostly come from this cell. Okay, that plasma cell comes from B cells and produce antibodies. Now, antibodies also fight against the antigens. Antibodies fight against the antigens. Antibodies are different types. These are actually, I mentioned, you remember when you were asking antibodies, I said proteins, right? Specific type of proteins called immunoglobulins. IG. Have you heard that? Immunoglobulins. So, there are different types of immunoglobulins. 5 types are very important. You see here. How many here? 5. Immunoglobulin G, immunoglobulin M, immunoglobulin A, immunoglobulin E, and D. Make sense? So all those are immunoglobulin. You see the name. Globulin is protein that gives what? Immunity. That's why it is called immunoglobulin. And these 5 are important immunoglobulins that are responsible for immunity in your body. Okay, so just know that. If I ask you what are the important 5 types of immunoglobulins, just know the names of these 5 types. Okay, they work differently. These cells, T cells, work differently. Different types of T cells. Immunoglobulins, different types of immunoglobulins also work differently. But the goal is same. Okay. Now we will see the lymphatic system, the parts of the lymphatic system. As I have mentioned, lymphatic system is responsible for immunity, and all these things are in the lymphatic system that I have explained. So lymphatic system consists of lymph organs. What are the lymph organs? Lymph nodes, tonsils, thymus, spleen. These are the lymph organs in your body. Okay. These lymph organs house the lymphocytes. These lymph organs do what? House the what? House lymphocytes. You remember I said lymphocytes, right? Different types of lymphocytes, T and B, right? And T has different subtypes, right? So the lymphocytes are the main warriors. Another is antibodies, right? Proteins. Clear? So these lymph organs, why we say lymph organs? Because they house huge amount of lymphocytes. Make sense? Packed heavily, they are packed heavily with lymphocytes. Okay? Then you have lymphatic vessels. Inside the lymphatic vessels, a fluid circulates. Okay? So this is actually like a blood circulatory system, another circulatory system in your body, lymphatic system, where you have the vessels. And the vessels contain a fluid that is called the lymph. So lymph is the fluid that circulates inside the lymphatic system. Circulates inside the lymphatic system. Now you see this picture. You see the tonsils, the top left, right? You see the thymus here, located here. You see the lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are as tiny and many throughout the lymphatic system. Throughout the lymphatic system, the lymph nodes are present. Those are small and many in number. But tonsils are few, thymus is only one, spleen is only one. So these are large organs, only few, but lymph nodes are plenty present throughout the lymphatic system. Now, in few areas in your body, the lymph nodes are clustered, present in higher density in few areas. Anybody knows? When you go to your doctor, they quickly check certain areas, right?
Yeah.
Try to fill like this. So this is one area, cervical lymph nodes. You have several here, right? That's why sometimes you see when pharyngitis, right, infection occurs, they get enlarged. Enlargement of lymph nodes means something active going on inside. Okay, so they are producing more lymphocytes. So they are getting enlarged. Activity is more. Another area is axillary area. So cervical, axillary. Another is inguinal. This area is called groin area. It's called inguinal. Okay. So those three, and inside the chest you have another set of lymph nodes there, that is called mediastinum. That means in between the lungs, the space in between the lungs, you know, your right and left lungs, the space that is called mediastinum, and you have lymph nodes in that area, many lymph nodes too. So those are the four areas. They didn't show here mediastinum. They have shown inguinal, cervical, and axillary. Okay. So those are the areas where lymph nodes are clustered. Cervical, axillary, inguinal, and mediastinal is this area where you have also a lot of lymph nodes. Now, fluid that circulates in the lymphatic vessels, first is lymph capillaries or lymphatic capillaries. The smallest lymphatic vessels, like blood vessels, capillaries are the smallest. Then you have lymphatic vessels, okay? And then from the lymphatic vessels, the lymph, that fluid, enters into the ducts. So ducts are the largest lymphatic vessels. So capillaries are the smallest. So capillaries collect the lymph or fluid, gives to the lymphatic vessels, and from the lymphatic vessels, the lymph or fluid is given to the ducts, okay, called lymphatic ducts. Just to know that there are two large ducts. One is called thoracic duct and another is called right lymphatic duct. So these are two ducts present in the lymphatic vessels. These are the largest lymphatic vessels, thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. So the fluid is finally given to the ducts. Here you see the four areas: axillary, cervical, neck area, inguinal, the groin area, and in the thorax or chest you have mediastinal lymph nodes. Okay, the chest. Just know the names where you have cluster of lymph nodes. Now, in